Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? Who's going to win and why?
Very interesting fight. I mean, Anthony Joshua has a lot of experience. Tyson Fury has a lot, as well as a lot of experience. But just I think with Anthony Joshua uh, losing a fight, that helped him become stronger. So I look forward to working with Anthony Joshua real soon. We communicate all the time. We talk all the time. And I've met Tyson Fury on a few occasions. Great guy, very interesting. I'd like to see him after the fight. I'd like to see him sing. I haven't seen him fight a lot of times. I've seen him fight probably only twice. Only seen Tyson Fury fight twice against Deontay Wilder. But it's a very intriguing matchup. You can never say what's going to happen in the sport of boxing.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, we just heard there from Floyd Mayweather, Floyd Moist Mayweather. And listen, you man know, or the people who follow my channel will know that I'm happy hearing this. I'm happy hearing that AJ, or at least from Floyd's mouth, we know Floyd likes to tell porky pies sometimes, but I don't think he'd gas the place up for the sake of it. Floyd said, I speak to AJ all the time, and I'm looking forward to working with him real soon. Now, listen, bottom line for me is, real soon, it best be soon, like now soon. How about that? Like before this next fight, soon. That's what I'm saying. No good. This is the fight now, and that's what I've been saying for the longest time. We ain't got time to be. If assuming AJ wins this Fury fight, that's it then, really, isn't it? This is it, and that's what people don't get. When I'm so adamant and so passionate about AJ's training team, it's because this is it now for his career, or more or less. When he wants to beat Fury, that's it. The whole game's wrapped up. There isn't a whole load of depth out there where we can look forward to other challenges. This is AJ's night. This is going to be AJ's legacy as such. How you perform against Fury, how you whoop Fury, that's going to be your legacy. We're not in the 80s where you had Ali, Foreman, Fraser, and then above that you are Mike Tyson, Lennox, Evander. In this generation, there's going to be one, maybe two all-time greats, meaning AJ, maybe Fury. But to be honest, I don't think, assuming AJ scores Fury, and AJ has the ability. What frustrates me the most about AJ's training team, AJ has the ability to stop Fury, no doubt at all. And that's not saying he won't, but I'm just saying it shouldn't be close. I shouldn't have to feel like it's going to be a little bit close. I should be sitting back now, relaxing, and just waiting to enjoy the show. This should be a glorified warm-up for AJ, a glorified sparring match. Seriously, go in there, chin down, and just start working like it's any day. That's how it should go. Because we know Fury can't work with AJ, not on the inside, not nowhere, to be honest. If AJ goes in there and he's looking to just work, I use Canelo as an example all the time, but that's just Canelo is bare bones. He's skillful bare bones, but really when you look at him, he's bare bones. There's nothing magical he's doing in there. Yes, he's got a bit of head movement. Yes, but really, he goes in there and he's aggressive and he wants to work. He goes in there with a purpose. No messing about. Tight guard. Marching forward. And to be honest, what have we really seen over the last few weeks? For me, it sounds like the Mexicans have been listening to the YB, because all of a sudden, we got all these fighters. Look at when Josh Kelly lost. You got Josh Kelly. You got Josh Warrington. All them dudes who got beat did what I was saying. Boxing in 2021 isn't difficult. If you've got your elbows in and your chin down and you march forward and you've prepared, as in you've got a decent amount of power, a decent amount of speed, you're going to win fights. It's as simple as that. People can't fight on the inside today. It's unfortunate, but it's true. They can't. They don't know what they're doing. Tell me the last time you saw a good inside fight, people getting stuck in. You just don't see it. In today's age, boxers, they either knock you out from a lucky one-off. There's very little examples of people going into fights and just working for 12 rounds. You just don't see it. It's all airy-fairy on the outside. For example, look at Wilder versus Fury 1. That sums boxing up today. Wilder versus Fury 1 sums up boxing. A whole load of nothing going on. And we saw what happened when Fury flipped the script and changed the strategy from a whole load of nothing going on for 12 rounds to getting stuck in. People they don't know how to do it. Ever since the Klitschko's came around, ever since Floyd came around, and that's what I say, listen, Floyd did what he did, but he was in control. He didn't do that because that's all he can do. Floyd chose to go that way. He can mix it up with the best of them when he chooses to, in an intellectual way. But that's Floyd. Everyone else, it's like Vladimir, for example. Vladimir, he wasn't like Floyd. Vladimir didn't choose to stay on the outside and bore everyone's tears and jab, jab, grab, because he chose to do that. He did that because that's all he could do. We saw what happened when AJ put the hammer down, lit him up. Lit him all the way up. And that's Vladimir as well. Vladimir, compared to people today, he's better than all them anyway. Even in terms of getting gritty, Vladimir's better than people around today. On the inside, Vladimir would have opened Fury up, no doubt. Too much power, relatively speaking. And even Fury, look what Fury did to Wilder. That wasn't because Fury's so great. It's because Wilder's shocking. Wilder is a typical 2021 fighter. Don't know what he's doing. His whole career has been based off the two most basic punches in the game. And even then, his jab don't score. His jab's like a guider. His whole career has been based off one shot against people with no chin and people who are no good and people who are turning up to lose. That's what his career's been based on. And the minute someone turned up who weren't coming to lose, who wanted to win, and who was prepared to get a little bit gritty, because Fury didn't really get that gritty, he weren't getting hit back. We can all look good teeing off against someone who doesn't know how to and who isn't fighting back. And Dilliaf, who was it? Someone said today, David Hay said, if Fury pulls that stuff against AJ, he's going to get finished within 6 rounds. And it's true. If Fury comes marching forward, well, tell a lie. AJ trained properly. If Fury comes forward, it's game over. Now, under Rob McCracken, honestly, I hate to say it, I wouldn't like to bet what's going to happen. I seriously wouldn't. If Fury comes forward against this AJ, who knows? In as much as I can see, AJ was going back against Pulev. Let's not forget that, please. Yes, he got the fight done in the end, but I'm saying, if AJ comes forward, I can see AJ going backwards, the same way he did against Pulev. That's not to say that he won't then land some shots and whatever else. The point is, AJ needs to be going forward. He needs to be aggressive. So, I started this video off saying I'm encouraged that AJ is going to be working with Floyd. But, number one, it needs to be now. Yes, you could argue, well, YB, you've criticised McCracken for being moist and boring and too defensive, but that's what Floyd is. Yeah, Floyd was defensive, but he's smartly defensive. When you look at AJ, really, his defense isn't that smart. That's what really gets me the most about Rob McCracken. He's got AJ fighting defensively, but he's not defensively smart. Still, when he's under pressure, his arms are a bit all over the place. It's not, the defense ain't tight. Because if AJ's defense is tight, there's no reason he can't, literally word for word, pull off a Canelo. The reason Canelo's able to do what he does is because his defense is tight. His elbows are in, his chin's down, and from that base, the world's your oyster. Especially when, like Canelo, you've got pound for pound power. And I believe AJ pound for pound's got more power than Canelo has. And he's got better work rate, and he's got better ferocity. You know, my criticism of Canelo's been that he don't throw more than 1 or 2 shots at a time. We've seen AJ put 6 together, but not as in a finessed way. So all the bare bones are there for AJ. It's just his leadership's real poor. Now, relating it back to Floyd, basically what I'm saying about Floyd is, Floyd needs to come into the camp now. If we wait until after the Fury fights, well, what good's that? He will have either won them or lost them, and it is what it is. It's no good bringing Floyd in to fight who? I know AJ, even AJ on his worst day, under Rob McCracken, can beat anyone in this game. Even, like I said, I'll still even back him to beat Fury under Rob McCracken. But that's not what it's about for me. I know how great AJ is, so it's not about, oh, let's scrape a win. In my opinion, AJ's prime, AJ trained the right way. Fury doesn't make out of the first half of the fight. Both of them. In devastating fashion. He comes out looking like he's been turned into an alien. In fact, he'll look like, what's his name? He'll look like Dominic Bumzeel. Just looking alien-like. That's how he'll look. No doubt. So when I'm always looking at AJ from an optimal point of view, not average. I want him to get the best out of himself because he's got so much to give. And we saw early on in his career, we saw what he had to give. We're not seeing them things now. We're not seeing that confidence, that aggressiveness. And it wasn't stupid aggressiveness either. I've got videos coming to break down what he was doing real well back then, that he's not doing so much now. But that's for another day. Essentially, Floyd Mayweather needs to come in. I think he'd be a great addition. And the thing about Floyd is, Floyd won't train anybody's. You know what Floyd's like. Floyd likes, if Floyd's going to come in and train, he'll train the best. Gervonta Davis. AJ, I can actually see Floyd, because bearing in mind he's been retired for a few years now, I can see Floyd flying in for a few weeks. 4, 5, 6 weeks. Even maybe a full camp. And just to be there. You know what he's like. He loves being in the lights again. He loves being all in the video. I can see him sitting up there in the press conference. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to be all in the video. But whilst it's funny that he tries to do that, I mean, seriously, from a training point of view, this is only beneficial. Because, yeah, Floyd's a bit negative in his approach. But when I think about it, he ain't going to be no more negative than McCracken. And, again, when Floyd's negative, isn't McCracken's negative. When Floyd's being negative, he's still boxing people's heads clean off. And I guess you can argue, well, AJ was still beating. He was still beating Pulev, but they're different type of fighters anyway. Half the reason Floyd didn't get aggressive much was because of his hands. AJ don't have that problem. So part of me thinks that Floyd will appreciate that and actually look at AJ and think, you know what? Yes, I chose to be defensive, but you don't need to do that. And we know Floyd can actually train you to do both. He can do both. He was lighting people up back at 26 or whatever? He was a beast on all different sides. And even at the end of his career, he was still a beast on the inside. He can mix it with anyone. He's defensively sharp. He was always keeping himself... Listen, there's about 4 times in Floyd... Or maybe, let's put it this way. There's less than 10 times in Floyd's whole career. Literally, there's less than 10 occasions Floyd gets hit clean. Throughout his career, full stop. There's less than 10 highlight reels of Floyd getting clipped. Anyone in boxing can work with that. And because of AJ's prestige and whatnot, Floyd will be attracted to that. Floyd ain't going to want to work with some next up-and-comer, but he'll work with the guy all in the video kind of thing, which is good for AJ. Throw McCracken out, we'll put him on the side, turn McCracken into a side man, get rid of them other 2 charity case dons, and bring Floyd in. That's what I'd do. I'd beg Floyd. But Floyd, got a massive fight coming. I know you like being all in the video. Come through and let's get popping. Now, I'm not sure of their relationship. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. Maybe it's not realistic or whatever, which is another fair point. But I'm just going to go on an assumption and best case basis. Floyd needs to come in ASAP. Come in ASAP. Because whatever we say about Floyd, he's got all the knowledge in his head. That doesn't mean he'll make a great trainer, but he ain't going to be no worse than McCracken. Let's get that straight right now. McCracken's the bare... I'm sorry, he's the bottom. He's the worst trainer in boxing history, no joke. At this level I'm talking about. Obviously for amateurs and whatnot, whatever. But for this top level, he's the worst trainer. He's the worst. You can't show me one. Show me where AJ's improved in 4 years. Show me it. Show me. Go on. I dare you. Show me where AJ has improved in 4 years. It's gone backwards. No joke. Gone backwards. And it's not to do with loss. Don't tell me, oh, it's to do with loss. Go and watch how the Ruiz fight started. The Ruiz fight before he lost was as bad. He was on there. He didn't want to commit, and then when he clipped him, he went all mad. AJ's like even in that first Ruiz fight, AJ was like a lost dog almost. He was telling us, oh well, the thing is, I saw Deontay Wilder knock someone out, and I wanted to follow it. Why hasn't your trainer sat down with you? Why haven't you talked these things through? You should have that kind of level with your training team or with your people around you. You should be able to have that level of communication. Oh, boss, I'm feeling a bit anxious about what Wilder's done. I'm feeling like I wanna. That's what you have to. I'm sorry. That's what you have to. That's the level you have to be at in this game. It's no good coming out and losing and then telling everyone afterwards. But clearly, that communication channel went there. And to be honest with you, if your training team's that deep, I probably would have said that to him anyway. Yo, we've seen what Wilder's done, but let's focus on what we're doing here. Yeah? And again, that doesn't mean we pull a Rob McCracken. Oh, alright, we've lost this fight, let's just completely back off and forget everything we've learned. No, it means we're going to focus on our plan. Our plan doesn't have to be all negative. It means we have a step-by-step plan. Our defense is going to be tight. Our chin's going to be down. Our elbows are going to be in. And we're just going to go in there and work. We're not going to worry about anything else. We're going to worry about landing. Let's just get hitting something. I don't care what you're hitting. Arms, chest, whatever. Just get landing something. And we can build off that base. I can't remember the last time, and we've seen it in AJ's earlier career. Show me the last time AJ went into a fight and he was just working. Not worrying about... In the second Ruiz fight, that was all strategy again. There was no work in there. It was all his AJ's strategy in that fight. He'd been told, do not engage at any level. So it wasn't natural. It was, no matter what you do, don't throw more than the right hand. I think he threw a left hook about 5 times in the whole fight. So that's not working. Working's... And even people like Lennox Lewis and whatnot, he had remits within fights, but it was phased. When Lennox fought Mike... Okay, we're going to stay on the outside for a bit. But in fact, that's a lie, because Lennox, in the first round, ended up holding his feet a few times to give Mike something to think about. I remember seeing Lennox somewhat anxious, and he could tell he wanted to set the pace a bit. He didn't want to let Mike get all over him. And even in the first round, he came out a bit tentatively, but then ultimately, towards the end of the round, he stuck his foot down and I think he got off an uppercut and a left hook. Just to let Mike know he's there. Where was that? There wasn't none of that in AJ versus Ruiz. And Ruiz ain't no Mike Tyson. Even though Mike Tyson was washed, still, he ain't no Mike Tyson. He can't punch. Ruiz can't punch. People don't get that. He can't punch. Go and watch him versus Dimitrenko. In fact, go and watch him in any of his career. He can't punch. Dimitrenko didn't get put down once in 7 rounds. He can't punch. It's a myth. He caught AJ on his worst night. And that proved in the rematch. And this is what an experienced team can... look at. AJ's team has lost their head completely. No composure. No championship composure. They went from unified, undisputed, all-time great level champion to, our guy's no good. That's how they look to me. That's how it appears. I remember back in 2016, we was all... It's not because he's lost, but I'm just saying, we was all... This is AJ's the hammer, do you understand? I can't believe what world we're in now in 2021. AJ was the hammer, do you understand? And it's not because, he's been beat now, so he's been exposed. No, nothing's changed in that respect. He's still the hammer. What's changed is all the goofy dons around him don't seem to know what they're doing at all. Yeah, you've lost. For example, when Lennox Lewis lost, yeah? In fact, it's a great example. When Lennox Lewis lost, did he lose his head and just completely change his style? And reinvent himself completely? No. He went in there, and I remember Lennox saying that he went in there to prove a point. To prove. He had that snare. I'm coming in here not just to win. I'm coming in here to prove a point. This guy can't lace my boots. Where was that attitude? It was all goofy attitude. It was all, my butt's twitching. We better not. That's what the whole camp was like, you can tell. It should have been, this man can't lace our boots because he can't. Ruiz can't lace AJ's boots. Simple as that. And it's almost like it's better to be honest with yourself and go out, and it's better to lose being yourself, or it's better to lose trying to be your best self than it is to win. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know, if AJ, and how I would have done it personally, yeah, I'd have sat AJ down and said, AJ, listen, You tell me what you believe. Do you believe Ruiz is a better man than you on the inside? Do you believe... that's what I said to him. I said, sit down and talk on a serious note, man to man now. Do you believe Ruiz is a better man than you in the ring, on the inside? And I'd tick all the boxes. And if AJ said, yeah, I think he's a better man on the inside, I think he's a quicker man on the inside, I think he punches harder on the inside, at that point, I'd say, you know what? You're right. Let's get McCracken back in. I'll see you later. Because you ain't the man I thought you was. Or you don't believe you're the man I think you are. So therefore, yeah, you're right. McCracken did the right thing. And I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe they've had that conversation. Maybe they had the conversation and AJ said to McCracken, listen, I don't think I've got it. I don't think I've got his number. If that's the case, I do apologise. And put my hands in there and say, listen, I'm not on the inside. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if it's not the case, if they didn't have that conversation, which I bet they didn't, because McCracken ain't deep like that. He ain't got a clue what he's doing. Yeah? Unless you've had that conversation, how can you build a strategy? But anyway, it is what it is. It's done now. But either way, Mayweather has got that champion experience. And either way, even if Mayweather doesn't train him the way I'd like AJ to be trained, he's still going to have... Mayweather's going to have a lot better idea of what's going on than Rob McCracken is. Even from a defensive point of view, Mayweather's a genius defensively. An actual genius. I'd like to think he'll tighten all of AJ's little gaps up that he's got at the moment. So yeah, Mayweather needs to be brought in 100%. Assuming maybe Mayweather's just, you know what I'm saying, just gassing the place up like people like to do. Mayweather loves to be associated with big events, so maybe he's just inserting himself in there. Oh yeah, you know, I'm going to be meeting with AJ soon because he knows AJ's got a massive fight coming up, so he wants to be, you know, he wants to link his name with it. You know what he's like. So I don't know, but I'm just talking about in principle. Yes, Mayweather would be great for AJ right now. That champion experience, because whatever you say about Mayweather, yeah, he always, what's the word? He always did enough to win, but I'm trying to say now. He always did enough to win, and he was always in control. Even when he's being defensive, you had that. I don't know about you, but it felt different for me. It felt watching AJ perform now feels different to how Mayweather performed. Does that make sense? It's a different. It's almost like Mayweather performed how he performed because he wanted to perform like that. Not because he was told to, or not because... You know what I'm saying? It felt like it's a completely different approach to it. It's a complete different attitude, I believe. People say things like, oh, AJ looks like he's all confused. For example, you'd never see Mayweather going mad and throwing loads of shots at once. And that's what I'm saying. Things aren't... It's not looking smooth is what I'm getting at. It's not looking controlled or smooth. There's no build in AJ's work now. Before, he'd go in there. There'd be no real plan, I don't believe. He'd just be in there, keeping safe, keeping sharp. And that's how I believe that's how the best fighters fight. The best, and again, Floyd. Yes, people may observe Floyd's work and say, oh, he's being really defensive. No, not really. I believe Floyd... He was in there just reacting and working. Yes, he was never really on the front foot, but it's that different type of temperament. AJ hasn't got busted up hands. So historically, AJ's been in there, keeping sharp, keeping safe, catching, countering, all these things. I swear down, they're in the early fights. Go watch them. All of the early fights, just before, up until Parker. Probably the last one, and then Tony Sims left, and then it all got goofy since then. But all them fights before, AJ's just in there working. You don't sense as much of a strategy there. He's just using his IQ, using his brain, being fight smart and working. That's how the best fighters, if I'm honest with you, that's how the best fighters fight. Canelo. You don't see something where Canelo goes in there and he's all dancing around the place and he don't want to exchange. He's just in there working. And that's how it should be, especially from AJ's point of view. If I was around AJ, I'd be telling him, listen, We want to taste this guy's power. Let's see what Pulev's got for us, because he ain't got much. He's a 40-year-old man who couldn't put Huey Fury out. Do you understand? What are we dancing around for? I said to you, man, AJ should have gone into the Pulev fight with his hands round his waist and just gone in there and just see what's up. Just walk forward slovenly and see what's popping. Walk straight forward to Pulev and just worked with him. That's how it should have gone. Why not? What's he going to do? Instead, AJ came out and his arms are going like the clappers and his arms are doing all this weird stuff and he's dancing on his feet and his jab's not driving forward, he's just touching with a jab. What are we doing? So, I know this is the thing as well. People say, "Oh, YB, what are you talking about?" Oh, but no one's ever actually explained what for. What are we doing that for? Have we got 1986 Mike Tyson in front of us? That's what it looked like to me. The way that AJ was carrying on in the Pulev fight, it looked as if we had 1986 Mike Tyson in front of us. Seriously, that's the only thing I can explain it. The way that how much he was pinging, how seriously he was taking it. We're just working. This is Pulev. This is the heavy bag session. We're going in there and we're working. That should have been the start and the start, middle, and end of it. It's almost like he's trying to overthink things. Thinking way too much. It's not that serious with these kind of guys. This is like AJ reminds me of. AJ's like a 1990s level fighter. In today though, where there's all bums. They're all bums. There ain't one guy in all the whole division who's real dangerous, in my opinion. Not one. Because even Wilder, oh look how dangerous he was. The first man that stuck it on him, he fell apart. Like Fury's not even an athlete. Fury doesn't even have athletic genetics in that sense. Compared to the guys in the 90s, they was all proper athletes. So that's what makes me laugh. This should be a laugh to AJ, really. On a serious note, it should be a laugh for him. This whole division's a laugh for AJ right now. There ain't no one in there who's really got some answers for AJ, in my opinion. But it's a mindset. It's a training attitude. It has to be built. You can't just have goofy dons around you. Clearly you can't, because we're not seeing it, are we? We're not seeing that. We're not seeing it translate. So, either way, I've rambled on for long enough. End of the day, Floyd is only going to add value in the camp. So, that is what it is. And even if Floyd carries on encouraging AJ's defensive attitude, it will still be done in I'd be much more confident about AJ winning cleanly with Floyd in the camp, because Floyd will know how to get it done. Floyd will know how to get it done against Fury. I don't have confidence that McCracken knows how to get it done against Fury. That doesn't mean AJ's not going to win. I think AJ's just that good enough. He can have as we've seen, he can have an awful training camp who actually takes away value from him and still pull things off. The Pulev fight was actually the best example of this, how good AJ really is. Even when his head's all over the place, even when his training team have told him never to engage again, my man ends up knocked out. And even AJ himself was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He thought, "What? I've barely touched this man, and he's already half knocked out in the second round." And that's what frustrates me even more. Imagine if AJ was trying to hurt Pulev. He wasn't even trying. Not even a bit. He weren't even trying, and Pulev got murked. The two times, the few things he hit him with, when he weren't even committing to it, was he? Don't you show me one time AJ committed to a jab. Go and watch AJ versus Parker. See the difference there. AJ's in there. He's not bouncing in and out. He's got his knees a little bent and he's driving forward. Every jab he's moving through with it. He's following through, looking for trouble, looking to see what's good. And that's Joseph Parker, who has much quicker hands than Pulev, much younger, much more dangerous on the inside. Parker had no answers for nothing. But yet we've got Pulev in there, who's good for nothing, stiff as you like. And it's a complete different approach. I don't understand what's going on. Anyway, bring Mayweather in for sure.